A court in Bangladesh is delivering a verdict in the trial of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. She's facing charges of crimes against humanity. Security forces killed hundreds of people during a student-led uprising in July and August last year. Hasina is accused to have ordered the shootings. The protests ended Hasina's 15 years in office. She's been in exile in India since then. Let's go live to our correspondent on the ground in Dhaka, Tanveer Chowdhury. So a 50-page judgment being read for the last few hours, Tanveer. What do we know so far about this verdict?
Well, as of yet, the sentence actually been spelled out. And what we know so far from the courtroom is that Hasina has been found guilty in 2 counts. Probably there are 3 other counts. In 1 count, she's been found guilty and given life sentence, and in another count, she's been found guilty and given death sentence. As for the Home Minister, who is also absconding out of the country, he's been found guilty in 1 count and has been given death sentence. The former police chief, who's a key witness to the state, he has been shown leniency. He's found guilty in 1 count, but given only a sentence of 5 years. We will know more on the other 3 counts, what are the sentences, because they've been spelled out inside the court. We're getting ready for the chief prosecutor to address the press here very shortly, and the Attorney General in the other gate, he's going to address the press shortly and make the formal announcement of the sentencing. So as of yet, the sentencing has been spelled out in the courtroom. We don't know full details, but she has been found at least guilty in 2 counts. 1 is death sentence and 1 is life sentence. So this is a remarkable day in Bangladesh. It's on the edge. The country is tense, there's heavy security everywhere, and people are anxious to know the full details of this verdict.
Indeed, and just to recap for our viewers, this is a 450-page judgment that's being read out in court today. And as you said, there are already some verdicts in on 2 counts. Sheikh Hasina, the former Prime Minister, sentenced to a life sentence, and then on another count, she's been sentenced to death, and we'll know the full details when this is read out officially. Talk to us about the mood in the country ahead of this verdict being announced and the reactions we've had so far on these early decisions for Sheikh Hasina.
Well, we haven't been outside yet, but it's been very tense. There's very little traffic in the city. People are glued to the TV because it's been live telecasted, the proceeding. And there's been some trouble and disturbance across the country. Her supporters been out in streets, vandalizing vehicle in certain parts. People have been arrested. Even those against her were actually having a clash with the police in other part of the city because they wanted to destroy a property belonging to Sheikh Hasina in the suburban area, but the police stopped them, and that led to the clash. There's heavy security presence across the country, particularly in key point installation. It is on the edge. We still have to see how the supporters of Sheikh Hasina reacts after the verdict. Of course, she's not here. Her son made a statement in the press that they know what the state verdict will be, and he said it probably will be death sentence, but she's here, she's safe, and the Indian government will ensure her security. That's what her son, who also happened to have been an advisor in her government when she was in power.
Tanveer, let me ask you, what risks are there in terms of violence and retaliation from Hasina's supporters as a result of this verdict?
Well, last several days, they've been trying to come out and mobilize demonstration across the country, but it's been not so successful because of police and a lot of counter-protesters belonging to the Students' Party. Even members of the public stopped them from organizing themselves, and actually many of them were grabbed and handed over to the police. But there was attacks on buses, trucks, and other private vehicles across the country by our supporters, creating a sort of a tense situation all across, which is why you have less car in the streets also, because people apprehend some kind of trouble, or at least they'll try to mobilize and bring out demonstration or create disturbance. But at the same token, the July protest students, they're out in full gear outside in the streets, and they said, we'll make sure that her verdict is handed out, and we'll make sure she's extradited from India. We'll pressure India, we'll demonstrate in front of Indian High Commission. If needed, we'll force the Indian High Commissioner to leave this country until and unless she is handed over to Bangladesh to face the sentence.
All right,
So
Tanvir,
there is
thank you very
both
much for
spectrum
the
has
update.
different situation going on in the country. It is tense. Okay.
It is tense. We will
Thank you.
come back to you, Tanvir, when more comes out of that courtroom in Dhaka. Tanvir Chaudhry, our correspondent on the ground there. Let's discuss all this further now with Sri Datta, who's a professor at Jindal Global University, specializing in South Asia studies. She's joining us from New Delhi in India. Thank you so much. So we have this verdict that's still being read out in Dhaka, but we already know that Sheikh Hasina, the former Bangladeshi Prime Minister, has been found guilty on 2 counts and sentenced to life in prison. And on 1 count, she's been sentenced to death. What do you make of these decisions?
I think the decisions were expected because one did see the mood earlier, and there were several weeks now the trial proceedings have been on, and I don't think it was anything. Not that anybody was going to, because then you've also seen how Sheikh Hasina in the last few weeks have also tried to build a counter narrative through international media and other media houses. So clearly she was. I think everybody was aware, including the Awami League supporters, that a pretty harsh sentence was coming along the way.
She's currently in India in exile. She's being sentenced in absentia. What's the likelihood that she'll be extradited back to Bangladesh?
Almost absolutely nothing, because earlier we were discussing this also, and of course now the sentence has come. But India is not going to extradite her. If she wants to go back, that's a separate story altogether. But under no circumstances, I think India is going to extradite her.
If India is not going to extradite her, how might that affect India's relationship with Bangladesh, the relations in Bangladesh, and does it put New Delhi in a difficult diplomatic position at all?
Yes, of course. We have seen in the last year and a half almost that the relationship hasn't been at its best. It's been fragile in many occasions, and there has been reason for concerns. And in recently, given the blast that occurred in capital Delhi a few days ago, there are some more reporters coming in about how it's been linked to some groups in Bangladesh also. So these are the concerns that certainly emanate within India, and I think bilateral relation, of course, is important to India, and I think both Bangladesh and India both agree they're important neighbors to each other. But so far as Sheikh Hasina is concerned, I really don't think that New Delhi is going to change its position. But they will have to deal with the bilateral relation at a different level, and once election takes place, and I hope that's going to be as per the schedule that they have. Professor Yunus has said so far, they will have to work out how best this can be done. But for now, of course, I don't know how the legal system is and whether there's scope for appeal and all of that. But certainly from India's point of view, Sheikh Hasina is, a guest for India, and there is no way that I don't think that any pressures from Bangladesh or elsewhere will make New Delhi change its mind.
Interesting. Coming back to Bangladesh now, you said earlier that this decision to convict Hasina doesn't really come as a surprise. How do you interpret the tribunal's decision? And does the conviction of a former long-serving prime minister mark a turning point, you think, in the country's political history?
Of course, we've never seen anything like this happen in Bangladesh. We've, of course, in the past seen ICT trials which are used during Sheikh Hasina's time. She used that against the Jamaat leaders, but again, there was, of course, questions about the way the trials went along and all of that. Even now, we've seen Awami League members and supporters often question the members on the ICT itself and how the trial proceedings were. But these are, of course, argumentative points. Largely, I think both international observers and others within Bangladesh agree that the proceedings have been as per the legal system is in place there. So clearly, I mean, the charges were something that we've seen the mood in Bangladesh that I mean, there, I think, is in no doubt, nobody's in any doubt about the the crimes that were committed, especially we are discussing the crimes during the uprising, that time when unarmed students, security forces opened fire on unarmed students, and there were many tapings. In fact, even the verdict actually played out several of these recordings where Prime Minister has given direct orders to for some of these shootouts and all of that. So I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's mind. Clearly, Awami League, which is one of the strongest parties in Bangladesh, also the largest possibly at any point of time, will try to build a counter narrative, which, as I mentioned earlier, they have been. But largely, I think Bangladeshis believe that the crimes have certainly been committed by Sheikh Hasina, and something, as I said, is very untoward. We've never seen something like this. But given what given the kind of things that's unraveled about her last 12 to 15 years of rule, it is, as I said, not unexpected. It's not just the July uprising, which of course is now what has been discussed in the ICT trial, but there are many other occasions and incidents which has been brought to light now about her, charges against humanity, as they say it.
Thank you so much for speaking to us about this and bringing us your early reaction there to this decision in Bangladesh. Sridhata Datta joining us from New Delhi. Thank you for your time.
Don't miss out and get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.